Really bad eggs. Drink up me hottest yo-ho. Hey, folks. Hey, Gozer. Hey, Meg. Michael, Ms. Wicked Wolf. Hey, Angus. Matt, the Reader in Black. I'm not going to catch everybody, so I'm going to tell you right now. No, Ms. Wicked Wolf, I'm not intending to get drunk, but I am going to drink to unwind, because today sucked. And actually is still in the process of actively sucking. So we'll see if tomorrow can maybe ease the foot off the suck pedal just a tad. We'll see. It's hard to know. Every day sucks. Globally, sure. Personally, no. No, not every day sucks. What happened? Okay, well, let's deal with this right up front. For anyone who didn't already know, the review video that I did for the Star Beast, the latest episode, well, special technically, of Doctor Who, was blocked by the BBC. Now I'm in the process of trying to get that sorted. It's currently unblocked in the US. It's still blocked in the UK and a bunch of other territories, and it's currently not monetized. So let me explain briefly. I'm probably going to do a full video on this, but let me explain briefly the ins and outs of this, and let me also make it very clear what did not happen. So the BBC did a claim and a block on my video, specifically claiming the part of the video where I showed parts of the opening credits while I was praising them, oddly enough. So they claimed that specifically, and interestingly, they claimed it on the basis that it was from The Giggle, and they blocked the video in all territories. Now, I've dealt with BBC's nonsense before. General rule of thumb with the BBC is if you are using clips of less than 10 seconds, they leave you alone. That's worked for me very reliably for a very long time. Based off what happened, I'm pretty positive I know how this occurred. And it wasn't malice, it was incompetence. Because what did not happen, I'm seeing speculation about it already in comments on various things that I have out there. They did not block my video because of the warning I have at the front end of all my Doctor Who videos about the fact that BBC News is transphobic. That is not what happened. So I want to shut that down. That is not what happened at all. It was claimed by BBC Studios, which is a separate entity, and I've had that thing up for over 2 years now, and they've never done this to me before. So what most likely happened was that in a preemptive effort to combat any possible leaks of footage from the upcoming specials, they most likely stuck the Giggle and the Wild Blue Yonder into YouTube's copyright bot system with instructions, if you see footage from these, block it. Again, probably with the intent to stop any stuff ending up online, however it might have gotten there before the stuff actually airs. The problem with that is if I'm right, and I'm pretty confident that I am, if I am correct, then they didn't take out the opening and closing credit sequence, which means that anyone who did any commentary on those and used footage from them, suddenly it's being automatically claimed and blocked by the system because they didn't think through what they were doing. So I am caught up in bureaucratic idiocy, and you cannot get directly through to a human being. So what I am currently in the process of doing is, basically I had two realistic options because I wasn't just going to let this fly. Well, I had three options, but one I was never going to do. I could have just disputed it outright, but that can take up to 30 days. So it could have remained blocked for 30 days and before they did anything about it. So I did not consider that. Option 2, excuse me. Option 2 would have been to edit it myself in my own editing suite and re-upload the video and delete the old one. I do not want to do that because doing that erases the history of the previous video. You cannot re-upload a video and hold over views, comments, etc. All that would suddenly vanish, and I don't want to do that. So that left me with the option that I'm currently in the process of, which is I've had to use YouTube's own sort of back end, because you can actually edit in YouTube Studios. You can edit something you've already uploaded. And so I did that to trim out the bit that they said they didn't want there. And I ended up doing it in a way that I think the end result will still be more or less coherent and isn't missing a ton. It's just missing some of the specifics now. The problem is YouTube's back end, when you edit stuff that way, takes forever to process. I submitted these changes to the video, let me think, about 9 hours ago or so, a little bit less than that. It's still processing. And so that's not even a matter of the BBC hasn't responded to the update. The update that I did to the video still has not worked its way through YouTube's system yet. Only after that happens, which probably I will not be able to check until tomorrow morning, only at that point will I know whether or not that will satisfy the BBC. I'm not positive it will, because a different claim has since popped up on that video, also from the BBC, where they're claiming a different part of it that actually includes no footage from the show whatsoever. I'm waiting on that because that might clear up when the video gets rescanned through the copyright bots once the freaking edit I put through finally clears. But until then, I don't know. It is distinctly possible that the work I have done to fix this won't work anyway, depending on how big a dick the BBC feels like being about this. Because while I do not doubt that the claim happened because of an automatic process, that does not stop them as a company from being jerks about clearing it up. So this is a shockingly high view count for viewers on the stream. So a couple things I should note right off. I do try and keep up with the chat, but I make no promises. If you, the way to guarantee that I will see your comment or question is to do it as a super chat, which will also get you a heart from me. And on a day like this, it would also lift my spirits just a tad. But anyways, that's the current standing on all of that nonsense. Hopefully it will be sorted in the morning, and I can pretty much guarantee that when I do the next two Doctor Who specials, I will use literally no footage, and my videos will be worse for it. But I'm bitter and ticked off and not in the mood to mess with it right now. Especially sucks from what you've said, it's your biggest source of traffic. I mean, not 100% of the time, but that video, it was on track to at least have a shot at being my best performing video of the year. And that's the other thing. Even if I get this sorted and fixed, this entire thing will have killed its momentum dead. Because as far as the algorithm is concerned, the thing hit a brick wall. it's not like the algorithm is going to pick it up where it left off once it clears everything again. It'll basically be starting from zero all over again. So all algorithmic momentum will be gone, even if I get this fixed. So view-wise, it's probably just going to sit where it's at and just creep up a little beyond that, even if I can clear it. I recommended a video where someone was claiming the special was trans grooming. Of course they freaking were. Oh. Aaron O, thank you very much for the super chat. I greatly appreciate that. Love the Doctor Who review. It's still available in Canada. Well, anyone who feels like firing up a VPN, I guess, if you feel like being Canadian for 44 minutes, you can watch the video. Shotguns and Salt. What a great name. No comment, just the super chat. Well, you get a heart from me regardless on that. Hypno Amber for emotional and physical labor. Big hugs. Thank you. Yeah, today has been exhausting. And like this kind of stuff is just really irritating. Thank you, Ms. Wicked Wolf. This one came off and I haven't done this hand yet. I got to figure when I'm going to do that. I don't know. For some reason, I didn't have the energy to do the rest of my nails today. Can't imagine why not. Since we'll never see it in the video game, what did you think of the new opening titles? Oh, I loved them. I thought they were phenomenal. And like a lot of my praise is still in the video, even with the edit. Just I had some visual signifiers there referencing some of the specific things I especially liked, but the fact that I liked it will still be there, assuming that this edit clears. We'll see. Supreme Omega. I will always roll that R. I don't even know if you like it when I do it, but I will always do it. On the separate the art from the artist debate, do you find it frustrating and depressing that so many artists that you like turn out to be terrible people? Yeah, it's frustrating. It's frustrating and slightly depressing, especially if you yourself are a creatively inclined person. Odds are a lot of the most inspiring figures in your life are going to be creative people. And when you take in something that's a creative work, I'm not trying to sound superior. Like, if you also do creative works, well, you're just a better audience. That's not what I mean. But like, it hits different because it's not just a matter of, well, that entertained me. It's much more likely if you are also a creatively minded person, which I am, that you took inspiration from this person. So it wasn't just like a fun thing to pass the time. It was a bit more meaningful than that. And so it hurts more when they turn out to just suck. And yeah, like for anyone new here, and geez, like I said, a lot of people in the chat, a lot more than I'm used to on a standard Tuesday. My general thing with separating the artist from the art is the broadest thing that I can say is that you can't. I actually think it's disrespectful to the art to pretend that it exists in a vacuum. It wasn't created by human beings who poured their own thoughts, life experiences, and unfortunately sometimes prejudices and biases into a piece of work. In terms of specifically supporting an artist, that is a much more moot point when we're talking about an artist no longer alive, like, say, H.P. Lovecraft. Be aware and watch out for the racist inclinations in his work, but you don't have to worry about buying any of his stories. The man's dead. He can't cause any harm. If somebody is still around and you're financially benefiting them, then take into consideration what may be done with that money or what your financial support of them might say to them. I'm not saying necessarily what it says about you, but what it might say to them in the idea of, oh, well, people are still okay with me if you're actually not okay with them. And that's not me saying you can't support anybody you don't like. We'd never be able to watch anything ever again if that was the case. But, like, just be aware. Yeah. And also, going off, just leaning into the tangent, separating the artist from the art is different from death of the author. Death of the author has to do with the reading into the meaning of a piece of work. You are entitled to read your meaning into a piece of work, and it can be completely separate from what the author intended. That's a completely separate thing from the notion of separating the artist from the art for the purposes of what I was just talking about. So there we go. Got some new super chats in. Greatly appreciate it today, folks. It's been a thing. Donna, Kathy N. Sorry, cannot forget to say who it was. Thank you so much. Donna got programmed like Bucky, even though it might have killed her. Men can't let things go. Lazy writing all over did not help the show at all. I, broadly speaking, disagree. Okay. I'm not going to reiterate my entire review. So let me just bullet points in regards to the kinds of things that you have laid out. First of all, that sequence of words used to deprogram her, like, that was never a sequence of words that was going to be said by accident. Like, is it a bit of a trope in terms of brainwashing and spy-related things? Yes, absolutely. If you don't like it as a trope, cool. But, like, that wasn't a sequence of words that was going to be said by one person unbroken without interruption. So, that I don't personally understand the hang-up unless you just don't like the trope, which, fine. But I don't feel the writing was especially lazy. It wasn't as focused in all areas as I would have liked. I had my own issues and notes and critiques on the thing. I didn't think it was perfect. I had a couple of hiccups, but like the writing it's RTD. It's RTD writing Doctor Who. And I also said this in the review, while I have hopes, and I really want when we get to Shudigatwa that he's going to bring something new to the table, that he's going to bring a different energy, bring a different feel, bring a different intent to it. I am willing at the present time to accept that these 3 specials with Tennant are a nostalgic celebration. And so while I don't want Shudigatwa's tenure to feel exactly like series 1 through 4, I am more okay with these specials feeling very much like seasons 1 through 4, which to me they did. Now, again, if you don't like series 1 through 4, or you don't feel they've aged well or whatever else, fair. Absolutely fair. But for me, I got wrapped up in it, which is what I needed it to do. I needed it to wrap me up in the fun and the excitement and the nostalgia of it, and it did that. So as far as I'm concerned, it did its job. Again, is it all perfect? No. Like I said, there are multiple things that I take issue with. Some of the writing and some specific things being not clear where they really needed to be, but not in a way that ruined it for me. And like, it can frequently happen that I'll watch something and like there'll be the little things that annoy me. It is equally possible, I've had it go both ways, that with time, the little things that like bug me just feel like they don't matter anymore. But it's also happened with equal frequency that the things that doesn't sit quite right bother me more and more and more and more as time goes on. So it can go either way, but going off initial impression, just a matter of days from when I saw it, it did its job. Okay, we've got more super chats. Stardust, thank you very much. I've had a tiring day being angry at trans healthcare in the UK. Yes, from my understanding, that is something that would stoke a lot of incredibly valid anger. So I hope the super chat lifts your mood as much as this stream has lifted mine. Thank you, Stardust. I appreciate that greatly. And I hope that you are able to navigate that nonsense with the most efficiency that can be managed by a human being, which unfortunately in its current state is probably not a lot, but so is the state of things. Jake Ratcliffe, thank you very much for the super chat. I watched it and will do it again as I loved it. Oh, lovely. Thank you. Am I going to see Wonka? Probably not. I haven't been to the movies hardly at all this year. And oddly, I don't miss it as much as I thought I would. Maybe part of it was like when I was in my previous relationship, we'd go to movies together, and none of the relationships I'm in right now is that a major feature. Like it happens intermittently, but it doesn't feel like ooh, that's something we can do. It doesn't come up as often, and there was very little this year that I was like, gotta rush out to the theater and see that. So yeah, not a lot of excitement in the movie theater or the idea of going. these days. And I don't know how much of that is me and just where I'm at right now, and how much of that is just the movie's not exciting me. Well, like, I saw some things in the theater. I took my kiddo to see the new Ninja Turtles. I went to Across the Spider-Verse with my boyfriend. So, you know, there has been stuff, just not a lot. And it's really rare for me to go alone anymore. Streamer I like to stream about mixed race couple yesterday. It reminded me of a story about my grandmother that I found funny. She was a pretty bigoted woman, but a member of my extended family named her great-great-granddaughter after her. I mean, you get back into older generations, and yeah, you usually hit that eventually. I mean, kind of the best you can hope for sometimes is it's the ones that you know personally aren't like that, and it's just a matter of like the generations that you didn't even meet. So that's if you're lucky. All right, I had more super chats. What do we got? Os Who Fan. Thank you very much for the super chat. The Beast one is still up in Australia, which is good because there's no legal way to stream anything else Doctor Who here except the new special. Oh, you're one of the ones that got lost through the cracks. There's a number of places like that. Ireland really got screwed, from my understanding. Yeah. Sir Jedi Sentinel. Hello there, my friend. Sucks about the video. F the BBC. Yep. Cheers to that. I just want to say I finished The Prisoner, and I'm ready and hyped to hear Jesse's thoughts in 2 weeks. I don't think people will be let down. Like, that episode... So, again, for people who are new here, we're talking about the Council of Geeks podcast feed now, where, along with Jesse Gender, she and I have been going through every episode of the British series The Prisoner, and we have actually finished. Like, we finished, we watched, and we recorded not only our thing on the last episode, but like a general wrap-up video with a special guest, so that'll be fun. So I already know what she had to say about it, but you folks won't find out for a few weeks. But yeah, the Prisoner's a trip. It's something. Sorry again, really need to shower. Yeah. Have a good cleanse. Let's see. Rhapsody in Blue 111 or 111 or 111. Could say that any number of ways. Rhapsody in Blue. Can't wait for MPH. That's Neil Patrick Harris. He has great stage presence. I generally enjoy him when I see him in stuff. He was quite good in the fourth Matrix movie, which y'all seem to have decided doesn't exist, which is unfair. That movie's pretty good. I'd rewatch that one before I would rewatch the third one, to be completely honest. My favorite Prisoner episode is Hammer into Anvil. Interesting choice. Many Happy Returns has a good shot at being my favorite. I don't care how you say the numbers. Cool. Just making a thing out of it. Yeah, it was my favorite Matrix sequel. I actually think that Reloaded is pretty good, but it's hampered by the fact that it doesn't have an ending of its own and just leads into the weakest of the four movies. But I do think Reloaded's decent. It's just unfortunate because of the split nature of the narrative. It's the kind of decent that gets weakened if the thing it's attached to doesn't hold up, which unfortunately was the case. Do I speak Spanish? No, I barely speak English. What are you kidding? Where's the... Let's finish this off. There we go. Anybody curious? Tonight's water is Riesling. Imported from Germany. Oh, shits. I'm sorry, oh, schist. Sorry, nobody heard me say that. Okay, there we go. And Gabriel Navarro also sent in a super chat. No comment, but I appreciate it all the same. Riesling country represent. Yay. Yeah, I thought you'd appreciate that, Gozer. Riesling kind of is my go-to at this point. I like sweeter wines, and it's a good safe bet for me. It would be hesitant. It'd be an overstep to say that it's my favorite wine, but it's the most reliable. Like, if I go to a restaurant or whatever and they're just serving all this stuff and I'm like, I don't know what it. Ooh, Riesling. I know that, and I know I like it. It's like good, reliable, tasty. That's a cool sweatshirt. Thank you. This particular hoodie, done by Grim Noir, who's a friend of mine. Before, excuse me, before I plug their, site, I want to make sure that it's still up and running because I know they were. Yeah, I think they've currently paused it, so I'm not going to plug it. Because they've paused doing work, but this friend of mine designed this, so I have a number of hoodies that they designed. Any thoughts on indie animation? I find there's been a resurgence on YouTube. I mean, that's such a broad term. I wouldn't know where to start. I like animation in general. I'm a big fan of animation as an art form, certainly. I have an ethical dilemma I've been meaning to ask you. Oh dear. Ooh, that feels like a loaded lead up. We'll see. Here's a funny thing I learned today. I'm rewatching the late 80s BBC adaptation of the Narnia books. I remember watching those on PBS. The actor who played Mr. Beaver is also Nimrod in The Sandman. Oh, nifty. So let's see. The Star Beast was like a nostalgic bowl of mashed potatoes. There were a few hard lumps that didn't get mashed enough, but it was still tasty and comforting. That's a decent way to put it. A couple of questions I'm also curious about. Favorite Batman, and if you have a show coming up. Well, Meg, favorite live action Batman is Michael Keaton. Favorite Batman in general? It's probably Kevin Conroy. Jeremy Sisto did it pretty good as well. And that's animated. Shows coming up? Yes, I do. I am hosting a burlesque show at Main Street Landing in Burlington, Vermont on Saturday the 9th. So not this coming Saturday, but the one after. I will not be performing a burlesque number, but I will be co-hosting that show. That's a Green Mountain Cabaret show. So anybody who happens to be in or within driving distance of Burlington, Vermont on the 9th, get tickets. It's liable to sell out. It's Your Funeral may be my favorite Prisoner episode because it's got both Darren Nesbitt and Mark Eden, who are both in the Marco Polo Doctor Who serial, which I love. See, I only recently found out, actually earlier today, I found out that that they were in that. I haven't seen that one. Want some absinthe, 70%? No, the one time that I indulged in absinthe, it was messy. Well, let's go with that. Like I did like it, but I'm not sure that's a good idea for me. Serenity Productions. Thank you very much for the super chat. Just wanted to say I love you. You're one of my favorite YouTubers and really helped me figure out my gender identity. Keep up the amazing work. Thank you, Serenity Productions. I appreciate that. As an OG fan of Council of Geeks, I look forward to the reviews of Doctor Who as a great second part to watching the latest episode. Loved your review. Hope this doesn't stop you. Thank you very much, James. I appreciate that. Any progress on my Centauri burlesque? No, that's... I forgot I'd idly said that. Have you seen the grifters try and claim the ratings are terrible? It was the biggest drama launch of the year. They really love lying. I hate talking ratings. I don't want to see them. I don't want to. I have indulged that conversation. Whoa. Ah, right. That was a reminder. I have to check in on the Discord in a hot second. But let me finish the thought. I have indulged the topic of ratings, I think, twice. I don't like talking about it, largely because I don't care. I don't care what the ratings are. To me, that proves nothing. There are great shows that have terrible ratings. There are terrible shows that have great ratings. To me, because I care about my own thoughts on Doctor Who and the stuff in general, it's pretty rare for me to care what the ratings are. If it's something I like, the degree to which I care is, are the ratings good enough for it to not be canceled? If the answer is yes, that's good enough, and I don't care. So I hate talking about ratings, and I try to avoid it if I possibly can. I guess we, excuse me. I guess we should wait until all 3 specials air. But do you detect a difference between the 10th and the 14th? So far, I can tell 14th is less cocky than 10. Like a little. It's not very pronounced so far. Hopefully, I'll have a better sense by the time they're done. So, Shotguns and Salt, I will come back to your super chat. What I need to do first is I need to pop on over to the Council of Geeks Discord, which is a Patreon exclusive perk for the Council of Geeks Patreon, if you didn't know. But aside from the super chats here, there is a channel over there to ask questions that I will address on stream. That's the one other way to guarantee that your question gets addressed. So I got to go over there and check that. Let me see this real quick. My question is, would it be wrong to use he/him or refer to this? Okay, wait, I missed the first part of your question. Okay, hold on. There's this person who I'm suspect isn't really trans. Needless to say, they seem to fulfill the stereotype phobes claim about bathrooms not helped by some stuff that they did. Okay. So basically, the short answer is, unless you have actual evidence to support, and I don't know the specifics of the situation, but unless you have actual evidence to support the idea that this person does not sincerely identify as trans or non-binary or whatever else, it is best to just go with the preferred pronouns, because if they've done something awful, just deal with that for the time being. Like, this brings back flashes of Ezra Miller, because I know, all of us, myself included, would love for Ezra Miller to not be part of our community, but that doesn't make it okay to misgender them, because that's just not a thing we should be doing at all. So that's my general stance. I don't know enough about the specifics about this. Maybe there is enough to, that other than just like disgust at what this person may have done, that makes you believe no. But like, I would still say, even if you're not going to honor the gender identity, don't like make a statement out of misgendering them, because to do that is harmful. So even, because I know there are people who even say about Ezra Miller, I think that Ezra Miller fakes the gender identity that they claim, to be a jerk or to feel special or whatever. Even if you sincerely believe that, making a show of misgendering them, that in and of itself, making a big deal about doing that, is harmful to the trans community, no matter who the heck you do it to. So that's sort of where I stand with that. I got to pop over to the Discord. I'll be back as soon as I can. All right, let me get through these quick as I can. Oh, there's a few. Okay. When I was a kid, I used to play in this space next to a cricket club my dad used to play at occasionally. It was wooden, and I pretended it was Jurassic Park. Oh, cute. The other day, I asked my dad if he could remember me going to that woodland area and make believe Jurassic Park. He told me he could not, but he had no idea which cricket club I was thinking of. Do you have any childhood memories like that? I mean, it's a thing you super cherish, are super nostalgic for, but your parents don't remember at all. Like, I'm sure, too, my mom and dad, it was like, our 6-year-old is running around the trees at the edge of the field, leave him to it. I mean, probably. I don't know. Those kinds of memories I tend to hold on to for myself, because I don't want to question them, and I don't want to run the risk of somebody going, I don't remember that, or that's not what happened. So I don't know. It isn't even a conscious choice. I think instinctively I tend to like hold that stuff to myself and not like try and get verification of it. Should Rose Noble become a companion? In my opinion, yes. Will she? Probably not. But I would like that. Recently, I rewatched your review of Accession. That is a novel by Ian M. Banks, for folks who don't know. You said the Affront are one of your favorite aliens in the culture universe. I wondered if you'd agree with my interpretation that the fact that the Affront is likable is kind of one of the most insidious things about them. Like, men who are kind of fun to be around if you're not one of the groups they dislike because they're funny and good to have a beer with, but also have kind of intensely bigoted views. Anyway, I thought the Affront were meant to be taken to its ultimate extreme. They're fun at parties, but they deliberately still use slaves, even though the culture offered them non-sapient drones that could do the same work. Yeah, I'd actually say that's a pretty good analysis of the Affront as a species. They're vibrant and jovial, but also kind of terrible. So, they are the kind of alien species or characters or what have you that I like to read about, but would never want to actually encounter. Because, I'd hate you. Next up. Do you think a union for YouTube creators would be a good idea to address and fight the bullshit YouTube comes up with regularly? Maybe. It's not realistic. Trying to unionize, because it's open doors to start YouTubing. So one of the things that is sort of the nature of a union is properly organizing these people. But when it's an open door system and anybody can just walk in and start doing the work of a YouTuber, how you even logistically form a union is difficult, aside from the fact that I don't think there is enough political will amongst a majority of YouTubers to form one anyway. Broadly speaking, unions are good. They're helpful. Would it help? Probably. Will we ever have one? No. No, we won't. Do you personally consider Doctor Who Comic Relief and Children Need Specials to be canon? Depends on the nature of the special. The Curse of the Fatal Death, clearly not canon. Here's the thing. I've never, prior to the most recent Children Need special, the one with Davros, prior to that, I never really had to consider whether or not they're canon because it didn't matter before, if that makes sense. There is no actual larger implications to time crash or to time and space, like the multi-part thing with Rory and Amy, or Night and the Doctor, as opposed to Night of the Doctor. There are no actual deep canonical ramifications to those. You can take them or you can ignore them, and it doesn't really matter. Whereas the Davros thing, potentially, depending on whether it comes up again, which it might not, and if it never does, then this will fall in that same category, but at least has the potential to affect canon in a way none of the others did. So I never really had to consider whether or not they're canon. Thinking about it, by and large, yeah, I expect most of them are, if only because there's no reason for them not to be. Can you briefly explain why so many fans dislike the half-human twist from the Doctor Who movie? Doesn't it kind of make sense for him to be half-human given how much time he spends on Earth? So I can only tell you my issue with it. I wasn't watching Doctor Who when that TV movie came out, so I can't speak for other fans. I think in a lot of cases, the impression that I've gotten from fans who dislike it is kind of for a similar reason why some people dislike The Timeless Child. That's not the reason I dislike The Timeless Child, even though I do dislike it a lot. But some people just really take offense to something that core to a character, that essential to the understanding, being messed with. They just find that distasteful as a thing to do. And I think having the Doctor kiss the companion was responded to similarly by a lot of people. Now, is that the reason I don't like that twist? No, I don't like that twist because why? Freaking why? I think anything that further explains the Doctor beyond us watching his actions, I don't want. That's also a big part of why I don't like The Timeless Child. I don't care where the Doctor came from. I don't care what his childhood was like. I don't care who his parents were. I don't care. I care about what the Doctor does. I care about watching this character, seeing them get out there into the universe, have adventures, rescue people. I don't care. And I actually enjoy the fact that so much is unknown about the Doctor, because it's like the show agrees with me that a full history of who this person was prior to when the show started doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So forget about it. So anytime something kind of tries to insert that info, I'm like, why is this here? We don't need it. So for me, it's It's distracting and frustrating. I've noted elsewhere, I'm not a lore person in general. I don't like lore. Like, lore existing is fine. I don't care about lore, though. I care about story. I care about plot. I care about narrative. I don't really care about lore. So when stuff like that comes up, it feels like lore being shoved in my face, and I aggressively don't care. And so it frustrates me on principle. So that's where I'm at. Can't speak for anybody else. Given how positively season 5 was received, how everything built up to the next season, do you think it's possible for Stranger Things 6 to live up to the hype? Season 5? There hasn't been a season 5, has there? I think you're off by a number. Yeah, you're off by a number. Okay, so I'm gonna move it back one number piece and assume you're talking about season 4 and how everything builds up. Is it possible for season things Stranger Things season 5 to live up to the hype? Certainly not for me. I didn't like Stranger Things season 4. Actually, there are some aspects of Stranger Things season 4 that I freaking hate. I did not like it very much at all. First one is still by far the best one. Third one is the next one. And I don't know between 4 and 2. 2 is just kind of dull. 4 has some bits that are great and a lot I hate. So, I don't know. But like, broadly speaking, no, probably not. You know, with how long time is between seasons for that show, I think the hype buildup is probably going to bite them in the butt as far as the general reception goes. Aside from the fact that for them to do a 5th season, even if it's the final one, it's going to have to build off of the narrative choices of season 4, which, in my opinion at least, were bad narrative choices. And I don't think you can build a particularly good or interesting story or satisfying one off the back of that. I think it's going to be kind of bad. I think it's going to wind up being ultimately pretty generic and not feel anywhere near as unique as when it started. That is my prediction, broadly speaking as someone who did not like Stranger Things Season 4. There are reviews up in my secondary channel, The Break Room of Geeks, if you want to know the reasons behind that. Okay, sadly, I missed today's streams as I have work. Sorry to hear that. Sorry you couldn't make it. All right, we're getting there. I gotta burn through these. Okay. Mecha giant robot genre, yay, nay, or meh? Which medium suits the genre the best? Meh. I'm not particularly invested, nor do I have a problem with giant robot mecha. I haven't seen a ton of it that has grabbed me that much. I don't like Pacific Rim all that much. One of my favorite animes is technically that, Vision of Escaflowne, but I did rather like the more medieval fantasy setting of that. It was less of a sci-fi setting. For some reason, that worked better for me. Any opinion on the current state of tabletop RPGs? I don't have an opinion on the broad state of tabletop RPGs because I don't keep enough. I don't keep up with it enough. I like playing D&D. That's where I'm at. What is the weirdest yet awesome comic/literature thing I've read lately? I don't know. I haven't read anything in a little bit. I'm so behind on so much. I'm trying to remember the last thing that I read or listened to on Audible. I don't know. I would have to sit here for the next 10 minutes to come up with an answer, and people are already waiting back in the main chat. Not a question, but I wanted to share the news that COSA got delayed. I hate how this piece of news behind the paper. Oh, okay. So COSA, if people didn't know, the Kids Online Safety Act, it's one of those pieces of legislation that sounds good and maybe even has good intentions behind it, but in its current state is a really bad piece of law. And I don't personally trust Congress as it exists to make a good piece of law trying to address that in a way that wouldn't just be a nightmare. There are a lot of problems with the current state of the COSA bill. One of the big ones being it is worded in such a way that it would basically have the potential to shut down LGBTQIA plus people from existing on the freaking internet. So, yeah, it's a bad piece of legislation that, if I'm being generous, has a sincere desire to deal with some of the problems and things that are being taken advantage of kids. But honestly, I think we're going to have more luck with all these state attorneys general that are currently suing Meta for harvesting kids' data. I think we're going to get farther that way than trying to craft a law, especially with the current Congress, because it's a mess. Any thoughts on the Stolas/Blitz relationship and Hell of a Boss? I honestly appreciate the messiness, but a lot of people find it too toxic. Here's the thing about that relationship. It is a little bit toxic, but it's also the healthiest relationship either of those characters is in. So I feel like if you're going to view that and criticize it as a toxic relationship, you kind of have to look at it in a vacuum, because for both of them, it's a step towards better, healthy relationships. And should they continue to do even better than they are doing with each other? Yeah, probably. But for where those two characters are in their life right now, yeah, it's probably the best thing that happened to either of them in a while. Season 4 is my favorite season of Babylon 5. Looking forward to the podcast, getting into it. Okay, other quick thing about the podcast for people who don't already know. I did say that Jesse and I were looking at The Prisoner. We started looking at The Prisoner because of the actors and writers strike, and Babylon 5 was a struck show, so we didn't cover that. But the strike is now over, and we're wrapping up our coverage of The Prisoner, so we will resume Babylon 5 coverage. We are in the middle of season 4, was where we left off, so that'll pick back up again in the new year. Are you finding the heavier serialization helps in playing to the series' strengths, e.g. jettisoning some of the comedy B-plots? Yeah, I think the show very much it's at its strongest when it leans into the serialization more, and a story feels like it is built on the back of something that came before, whether it's the immediate prior episode or not. You said the campy aspects of RTD's Who writing don't always work for you. Did you enjoy them in Starbeast? I mean, it's a special, and the specials tend to be campier. Like, okay, let me put it this way. In regards specifically to the camp aspects of the special, if this had been the tone of episode 1 of Shooty Gatwa's series, I would be complaining about it more. But I kind of go into the specials, particularly an RTD Pen special, expecting a certain amount of camp because that's just his baseline. So I kind of prepped myself for it. Did I enjoy them? That might be an overstatement. Did they bother me? No, but because I was expecting them. We're almost done. Big Boss has 2 hearts, so Omega would have 2 hearts, but so would the Ronnie. Oh, okay. So the referencing the Meep referring to the boss and the possibility of somebody having 2 hearts. I don't know. I don't do speculation. I suck at it. Omega would be viable. The Ronnie, it's never the Ronnie. It's never the Ronnie. Watch it turn out to be the Ronnie this one frickin' time. I mean, the Master would be another obvious go-to. Romana, Rassilon, Barusa, you want to do a deeper cut? There's options. In terms of building a universe a la Marvel, why do you think that people forget that Marvel's start was actually pretty ropey? Iron Man was solid, but the next 2 installments, Hulk Attempt 1 and Iron Man 2, were either ignored or forgettable, and the key movie in establishing the MCU could be a thing was actually probably Thor, unfashionable as it is to like that film. I mean, the thing is, this is a problem with both audiences and studios, is they look at the end result of what Marvel built in this huge, big thing, and they forget that, yeah, it built up relatively slowly, certainly compared to how fast everybody else is trying to ramp up into a shared universe. And yeah, it had stumbling blocks, but those kind of, call it survivor's bias. Those fade away, and we just remember everything that worked. And yeah, that's kind of a hazard if you're trying to move forward with your own plans. Inspired by the Loki pie scene. What exactly is a key lime pie, and what does it taste like? It tastes... I don't know what's in it. I can't make one. It tastes like... think... something kind of in the neighborhood of consistency to a cheesecake, but it kind of tastes like lime-flavored Jell-O. I like them. There we go. I am caught up on all of those, which means I am back now. I gotta see what super chats have come in. Oh, a fair few. Okay, now I got these. John Vinyls, thank you very much. Regarding Matrix Revelations, it does annoy me when good stuff gets ignored because of how it was distributed. For example, I love the 2019/2022 Green Eggs and Ham series on Netflix and the film Felidae? I've never heard of that. I saw a little bit of the Green Eggs and Ham. It was interesting, but it was also one of those things I was trying out to see if my kiddo would like it, and they weren't hooked, so I passed on it, but it seemed interesting enough. Who's up next? Jar Jar Ed. What happens if we do ever get a canon episode called The Curse of the Fatal Death? I'll deal with it when it happens, I suppose. That's one of those things like, I don't know. I can't even begin to wrap my brain around that idea. Serenity Productions, thank you once again. Have you heard the rumor that Paul McGann Doctor is getting a spinoff? What are your thoughts? I think it's a bad idea. I think it is a bad idea to have running in parallel another version of the Doctor. You're like fan wars are things that's going to happen regardless, because the fan base is freaking exhausting and always has been. But I don't think you help, especially with the current state of this particular fan base as it is, by inviting a division, by splitting the fandom and offering them two different versions of the Doctor, especially one that's going to feed into all the people who say, oh, it needs to be like the old stuff. I feel like you're just leaning into stoking just all the infighting. I don't think it's a great idea. If they wanted to do a special starring McGann, I could get behind that. I think an actual full-on spinoff, I can't imagine it's going to be any better than what he has done with Big Finish for years, and I can't imagine it's going to be worth it in the end. So, where was I? Oh, Supreme Omega! Thank you. I turned into Doofenshmirtz there for a second. A super chat? Parry the super chat! In the 80s. Oh, sorry, on the 80s. I wonder why the decade continuously produced so much nostalgic callbacks. What makes 80s more valued in pop culture than any other era? So part of it, it's a couple of things. The first is we hit the standard nostalgia cycle, which is usually between 10 and 30 years. It is now caught up to the 90s, and we are starting to see a certain amount of 90s nostalgia. But also part of it is that a lot of the big creatives in media right now, they are Gen Xers and or elder millennials. And while you might think elder millennials would have more nostalgia for the 90s, a lot of them, especially if they had older siblings, have very fond thoughts about the 80s. So I think the 80s as a nostalgia cycle is holding on a little longer than is standard, but I think it's already crested. I think we're on the tail end of that overall. And I think why is it more valued? I don't know if it's more valued. It's more memorable because it's very unique. If you hear 80s music, you're like, that's 80s music. You see 80s fashion, you go, that's 80s fashion. You see 80s TV, yeah, that's 80s TV. Everything felt very of the time, which made it dated immediately, but it also means that it makes it more unique and specifically identifiable. So where else are we? Ollie Tomlinson Music. Thank you for the super chat. Hello, longtime viewer. Love your videos. Thank you. Mr. Cool 210. Hello there. Don't know why I got a slight flirty voice with that. I don't know why I did that, but it's a thing I did, and I'm leaning into it now. Do you think anything interesting could happen in pop culture or story-wise when Doctor Who becomes public domain, aside from the obvious horror film? That kind of turned into Patrick Warburton at the end, though. Yeah, that's the poison for Cusco. Cusco's poison. I mean, yeah, potentially. I think public domain is a great thing creatively. Like, everyone's like, oh, you'll just get a flood of bad stuff. Yeah. And the good stuff will rise to the top. Why do you think we still have Sherlock Holmes? Why do you think we still have Dracula? Yeah, there's a lot of crap, but the good stuff stands out. I think it will be a good thing. I think public domain as a general thing is good creatively. It is a good thing. And yes, somebody will make a horror version where the Doctor is just like kidnapping people or something. There was going to be a version of Peter Pan that was that. I don't think that ever got made. I've lost track. They keep trying to remake Peter Pan. They've all been garbage too. Public domain can also result in garbage, but so can everything else. Louise. Now my brain's going on Bob's Burgers. Oh, Louise, honey. What's your question there? Are you looking forward to Are you more looking forward to Wild Blue Yonder or The Giggle? I was just sad that Kate wasn't in the first episode. Also, did they write out Osgood? I don't know enough about either one of those to have a preference. Like, all I really know is the title. I haven't been following the rumors about what may or may not be in each one because I don't want to know in advance. So I can't really say I'm looking forward to more to one or the other. Did they write out Osgood? No. No. Osgood is still around, as is a Zygon version of Osgood, but the character has not been touched on in some time. But she's still around. Well, she appeared in the Lonely Assassins game, which was pretty good. Yeah, if they wanted to do more with her, I would not complain. Mike Burns / arranged accidents. Is that like your official job? You arrange accidents? If you want somebody gone, you don't want to wait too long, call the immediate professionals. Okay, moving on. You have the most objective takes on New Who out there. Here's a classic recommendation for you. Friday the 13th, the series, no relation to the movies other than the title fonts. Think Warehouse 13. I've heard of that. I've never checked it out. They did that with a few things. They did that with, crap. What was it? There was another show that, like, had the name of a horror franchise, of a horror movie franchise, but it was just like, it was like tracking down artifacts or something. It was like nothing like what the movie was. I can't remember what it was now, but there were a couple like that. I don't. It's funny. I don't try and be objective. Like the notion of an objective. The notion of an objective review is like a silly notion. Thanks for catching that person, Gozer. I appreciate that. Because like no review can be objective. If your opinion isn't in there, then it's not a review. The only things you can review objectively are things that are purely mechanical. Like you can objectively review a vacuum cleaner. You cannot objectively review a piece of art because part of the function of art is to create an emotional impact. And you have to comment on that. Whether it worked for you or not, you have to comment on that. You can't be objective. But I think the reason I sometimes read that way is because I'm not looking to paint Doctor Who or really too much of anything with so broad a brush as like, this is all good, this is all bad. I like finding the bits of good that are in, some of the rough stuff. Like, there are legitimately great episodes during the Chris Chibnall era. Not a lot, but there are some. And also, I want to be sure to not just effusively praise. Like, I think sometimes I will get so wrapped up in liking a thing, I'll be like, there are some problems, but I don't want to dwell on them, because sometimes that does happen. But, like, nothing is perfect. So, I think just the way my brain works, which tends to be... the general way my brain works tends to be just a matter of, well, here's all the good stuff, here's all the bad stuff, and I tend to talk about both. So I think the result is it feels more objective because maybe it feels more balanced. Yeah. I do my best. Even when I have a strong response, be it negative or positive, I also try and give some credence to alternating views if I can wrap my head around them. Because sometimes I can't, and I'll cop to that too. Jar Jar Ed coming on back. We are going to be wrapping up soon. I appreciate it though. Having gone through all the Big Finish Doctor Who audios with Charlie, I am now a pretentious hipster. Paul McGann's my favorite doctor. There you go. Look, there's nothing wrong with being a pretentious hipster. Just realize that's what you are. That's all that I ask. There's a lot of complaints about the Meeps pronouns, but the Third Doctor and Joe Grant did the same thing with Alpha Centauri and Curse of Peladon in 1972. Yeah, I retweeted that clip myself. Did you see a slight similarity between the Mind Control Unit Soldier and the Star Beast and the Robomen from the Doctor Who movie Daleks Invasion Earth 2050 AD? I mean, conceptually a little? I guess visually a little too, because they put their visors down to cover their glowing eyes. Yeah, I guess a little bit. Yeah, sure. We'll go with that. Supreme Omega. Was Revenge of the Nerds ever good? Well, I'm gonna find out because it's not gonna be for a little while. Gaming Villager, thank you for telling me. I did miss that. And I also missed I missed a couple. Oh, you know what happened? Because I went back to Serenity Productions because I remember that being the last one I read. But Serenity Productions had come in with another one, so I missed two. I missed you and I missed Shotguns and Salt. So I will do that. But yeah, Revenge of the Nerds, I've been commissioned to watch and review that one. So I'm gonna find out. Oh boy. Don't know when that's gonna happen. That's gonna be sometime next year. Probably for a while. Shotguns and Salt. Sorry I missed it initially. I meant to say this in the previous one. Whoops. But I'm so sorry that happened. I can't wait to see your review. Thank you very much. If you have a VPN, set it to Canada. You should be able to see the video then. And Gaming Villager, who is Canadian, judging by the currency. I tried to make YouTube videos once, but I found I didn't enjoy it, which makes me wonder, what's your favorite part of making videos? As you may have guessed, I like to talk. And I have all these things and these thoughts and these feelings around things that I've watched, read, experienced, and I want to share those thoughts. But, you know, my kiddo isn't into a lot of what I watch. Only some of my partners are into some of the stuff I watch. And even then, like, you know, when we're together, we're going to do something other than just have me geek. Like, me geeking out it's just a thing I've always loved doing. And YouTube is how I get to do that and feel heard. Feel like the people who actually want to hear my feelings on this are gonna find it. That's what I like about it. All right, coming back down to the bottom, I do need to wrap up. Wilson Kilmer, today does suck. I'm right here with you drinking. Cheers, my friend. And Castor Boris. Interesting name. What are your predictions for Wild Blue Yonder? I feel like you wasted your money. I don't do predictions. It just has to do with the way my brain works. Predictions are like, I'm not going to say I never, ever, but there's a reason it's not a regular feature on my channel. Because my brain doesn't work that way. I can try and guess, but there is a very loud screaming part in the back of my head going, just wait and watch it when it comes out. Why are you wasting time thinking about this? So unless something like fully clicks in my head, oh my God, Serenity Productions, I'm so sorry. Oh, jeez. I shouldn't have had as much as I did. Sorry, I will get it. Sorry about that. But anyways, like, I don't really do speculation because unless something really clicks with me that I'm like, ooh, I think I know how that might pay off, or I think of how I might like to see that pay off. That's just not how my brain works. It's just not. And I can't force it. I can't force it to work that way. It's the same reason like I can't do like theory videos or decoding videos or deep lore, you know, ooh, I think this is the secret history of this character. Like I can't do that because kind of like what I said before, my brain goes, none of this matters. This isn't essential information for viewing and enjoying the thing. Stop. What are you doing? Stop wasting your brain power on this. So I'm a horrible person to ask for speculation. I have none. I am sorry. Serenity Productions. Have you seen Jessie's review of the episode? Was wondering what you thought of her take on the binary, non-binary line and that part, and that whole part of the episode. I have not. I actually haven't seen anybody else's review of it as yet. It's just I've been busy. So payoff. How old am I? I'm 41. But I haven't seen it. I'm sure she has thoughts, and I will try and get to them at some point. But yeah, no, I haven't seen hers or anybody else's as yet. Opinions on Donna's mom in Star Beast in comparison to how she was in season 4. It's clear that she kept to her word and really tried to be better and more supportive of Donna. But she still also feels like herself. I actually liked her a lot. I say that as someone who did not especially like her in season 4. I'm not entirely sure you're meant to like her, but like I didn't especially. I liked her a lot more here. Yeah, I'm gonna wrap it up. Okay, thank you very much for joining me, folks. This was nice. Like I said, big crowd. Good grief. I don't remember the last time I had an audience this big, which was nice, and the super chats are really appreciated. That helps. I mean, like for the obvious financial reasons. Obviously, money does matter. Depressingly, something capitalism bad. But you know, it's reassuring and it's comforting and it's just nice. So thank you. I hope that everybody has a good evening, a good rest of the day, good rest of the week. Far as stuff coming up, I will be streaming on Twitch tomorrow. Playing more islets. I'm also going to stream on Friday. I may or may not be playing more than that, or I might try something else. We'll see. I'm not expecting to have a video out Saturday, although now that I do not intend to actually use footage from the show, your fault, BBC, I might have the review for the next Doctor Who special out on Saturday, like late Saturday, my time. So folks in the UK, you might get it Sunday morning. But that's sort of what's coming up in the immediate. So thank you very much for joining me here. Please remember that you are beautiful, you are valid, and you are loved. You are the council, and I am just running the meetings. And until next time, this council is adjourned. McCavity!